Something just happened in the heart of Tehran that the Iranian regime does not want you to know about. Armed fighters from the opposition just stormed the security perimeter of Supreme Leader Khamenei's personal headquarters, breaching fortified walls defended by 8,000 elite Revolutionary Guard soldiers. And it gets even more explosive because reports have now been confirmed that President Trump has been presented with assassination plans targeting Khamenei, meaning regime decapitation is officially on the table. Khamenei is reportedly hiding in a secret bunker. His own Islamic Revolutionary Guard are on their heels, and civilians in the capital are sheltering opposition fighters from regime death squads. Make sure to stick with the very end of this video because what I'm about to show you is proof that the Iranian regime is not just weakening, it appears to be collapsing, and a coup may now be inevitable. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, celebrating yet another day in Trump's golden age that you made possible back in November 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We are now getting word that armed fighters from the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran, better known as the MEK, launched a coordinated military-style assault on the Motahari complex in downtown Tehran. That's the personal headquarters of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And this was not some lone wolf attack or symbolic protest. This was reportedly a multi-target military operation with multiple strike teams hitting different locations simultaneously. That's the reports that we're getting. Khamenei's residence, the Guardian Council, the Assembly of Experts, the Intelligence Minister's Office, the Judiciary, the Supreme National Security Council, even the office and residence of Khamenei's son, his designated successor, were all targeted in what appears to be an operation designed to decapitate Iran's entire power structure. Now, here's what makes this assault historically unprecedented. The Motahari complex is, to put it mildly, a fortress, okay? The entire perimeter is surrounded by prefabricated reinforced concrete walls more than 4 meters high, topped with metal anti-drone and anti-projectile barriers. And within the complex, each building has its own enclosed perimeter wall, creating layers within layers of defense. Nearly 8,000 personnel from various military and intelligence units guard the compound. That's more security than that protects the U.S. president, the U.K. prime minister, and the French president combined. And yet, MEK fighters broke through both perimeters, reached positions within direct assault range of Khamenei's residence, sustained combat for over 12 hours, and 150 fighters who penetrated the second perimeter all escaped safely to their bases by midnight. And we need to think about what that means. If 8,000 elite guards cannot stop opposition fighters from reaching the Supreme Leader's doorstep, either there is massive incompetence or there is internal sabotage. And both of those options spell doom for this regime. Now, we don't have at this point any confirmed reports of casualties on either side. Again, this is breaking. And we're getting reports that citizens in Tehran have in many cases assisted and provided shelter to the Mujahideen fighters, especially the wounded. Civilians are reportedly hiding opposition fighters from Revolutionary Guard death squads. And what we're seeing here then is the internal side of this classic strategic dual track squeeze that the Trump administration is clamping the Iranian regime with. So what we're seeing is the regime getting squeezed by pressure from both the inside and the outside, internally and externally. So from the inside, the Islamic Republic is facing its single worst domestic crisis since coming to power in 1979. They're in an economic free fall. The rial, the Iranian currency, has lost 20,000% of its value since 1979. They're in the midst of a major water crisis. 90% of their water reserves are gone. and the Bazari, the merchant class, which carries inordinate economic influence in Iran, they've turned on the mullahs. They want the mullahs gone. So this is the single most serious uprising internally in 4 decades in Iran. But then externally, from the outside, you got this rather formidable fleet of U.S. warships in the region. They're seizing Iranian tankers. They're blowing their drones out of the sky. And they're making it clear that whatever gets negotiated in the talks via Oman's mediation will be on America's terms, not Iran's. And now we're getting reports of how this dual-track squeeze is actually coming together. According to Axios, confirmed by NDTV, a plan to kill Khamenei and his son was presented to Trump several weeks ago. They reported that a senior advisor said that Trump is keeping his options open, and it's very clear that one of those options is forcing a regime change. Apparently, Khamenei knows this. He's reportedly been hiding in a bunker. He's recently skipped a 37-year Air Force ritual for the first time, and he's been largely absent from public life. And remember what Trump said at the State of the Union. He made it absolutely clear that Iran will never be allowed to build a nuclear weapon. And we're about to see what that's really all about. Millions are waking up to the realization that the news is broken. It's biased. It's unreliable. But luckily, there's a solution that doesn't tell you what to think, but it helps you cut through all the noise to understand what's being emphasized, ignored, or spun. Ground News brings together headlines from over 50,000 news sources and makes it easy to understand what's really happening. But what really makes it powerful is its transparency. You don't just see the stories. You see the political bias behind every source, the ownership ties, and the coverage breakdown across the spectrum. So that's why over 1 million people have downloaded Ground News. Check it out for yourself at ground.news/Steve. Now, my favorite feature is the blind spot feed. It shows you which stories are blowing up on one side of the aisle, but barely mentioned on the other. It's the clearest way to see media bias in action. So, for example, here's a story the left is completely ignoring. It involves the testimony of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison before Congress in March regarding the allegations of widespread fraud. Now, the left-wing media doesn't want to touch this story of their upcoming testimonies because it exposes just how corrupt Democrat administrations have become. Now, of course, right-wing media has its own blind spots, but that's the beauty of Ground News. With every story, Ground News shows you the entire spectrum of who's reporting from left, right, and center, and how reliable each source is, who owns each outlet. I mean, it's everything the corporate press doesn't want you to see. Right now, you can get 40% off the Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to all their features. I personally use it for about $5 a month. It's awesome. Just visit ground.news/Steve, click the link in the description, or scan the QR code. That's ground.news/Steve. The U.S.-Iran confrontation is one of the clearest real-time demonstrations of the civilizationalist order replacing the liberal internationalist architecture that defined the post-1945 world. So for decades, the Islamic Republic operated as a revolutionary ideological state, not a civilization state per se, but more a universalist project that sought to export its Shia Islamist model across the Middle East through proxy networks such as Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iraqi militias, Hamas. Its entire strategic logic assumed the persistence of the liberal international order. And that's because they were able to exploit UN processes. They were able to hide behind multilateral frameworks. They were able to use the appeasement-based Obama-era nuclear deal to buy time and leverage the West's procedural commitments against itself and the like. What we have to understand is that world of the liberal international order, is now gone. What replaced it is civilizational realism. And at the heart of that civilizational realism in the Middle East are the rising Sunni Arab Gulf monarchies, right? Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Egypt, Bahrain, all of whom has spent the last decade reasserting a rooted civilizational identity centered on Arab sovereignty, Sunni Islam, and economic modernization, positioning themselves as the civilizational anchors of the Middle East. This is absolutely essential to get. This is simply not just about Israel or Israeli influence over American foreign policy, okay? There may certainly be that, but we have to understand that Iran is seen as well as a threat to Sunni Arab sovereignty by virtue of their proxies, Hezbollah, Houthis, Iraqi, Shiites, and the like. And the key here is that the Abraham Accords, that was one of the crowning achievements of Trump's first term, represents a civilizational realignment. Sunni Arab states have chosen alignment with Israel and the United States, not out of liberal internationalism, but out of a shared civilizational self-interest against Iran's expansionist ideology. And what we have to understand here is that if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, they all of a sudden now get to call the shots in that region. And that's why, as far as Trump is concerned, and as far as the Sunni Arab nations are concerned, they cannot be allowed to have that nuke. Again, this goes way beyond Israel. And the recent destruction of Iran's proxy network, with Hezbollah decapitated, Hamas devastated, the Houthis under bombardment, that has effectively collapsed the Shia revolutionary arc, leaving the Sunni Arab civilizational bloc as the dominant regional order. And in effect, there is significant support to permanently solidify that Sunni Arab order. And so this is where Trump comes in, and the two-tiered squeeze on the regime. Trump's approach to Iran, right, the total oil quarantine, the June 2025 strikes, the reported presentation of assassination plans targeting Khamenei and his son, the demand that Iran surrender not just its nuclear programs, but its ballistic missiles, its proxy networks, and the like. All of that is meant to, in effect, make permanent the Sunni Arab civilizational bloc as the dominant power in the region, and thus fulfill the promise of the Abraham Accords. And at the same time this is all happening, you've got the Iranian people rising up and demanding a return to their Persian civilizational identity, the same pre-Islamic national consciousness that the mullahs spent 45 years trying to erase. When MEK fighters breach Khamenei's compound and Tehran civilians shelter them from Islamic Revolutionary Guard death squads, that's a civilizational rejection of the revolutionary state. So bottom line, the liberal international order created a vacuum that revolutionary and ideological states like Iran exploited. But the rise of civilizationalism, from Trump's America to Modi's India to the Gulf monarchies reasserting Sunni Arab civilizational interests, that civilizationalism is now collapsing those Shiite ideological projects and replacing them with rooted, sovereign, civilizational actors. Iran's regime isn't just losing a geopolitical contest. It's being ground to dust between civilizational forces it was never designed to survive. So many of you have asked how you can support what we're building here. And one simple way is through our Turley Talks merch, designed to reflect the values we live by. Just click the link below, take a look. I think you're going to love it.